What's up, guys, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. In this one, folks, we got a bunch of injury updates, also just a wild claim from Yusei Kikuchi, and a bit of a strange roster move from your Toronto Blue Jays. Let's get into it, folks. So the Toronto Blue Jays just have a ton of injuries right now, folks. I mean, you got Danny Jansen on the IL, you got Brandon Belt on the IL as well, and in the most recent Toronto Blue Jays game, there were some scary scenes because Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he didn't look so good, and Yusei Kikuchi had to be taken out of the game. So not great in the injury front right now for the Toronto Blue Jays. Starting off with Brandon Belt here, Shi Davidi came out and tweeted that Brandon Belt is starting a hitting progression today, says Blue Jays manager John Schneider. In a perfect world, he added, Belt might be able to get a rehab game in at Buffalo, but not clear if the timing will work there. And to be completely honest here, folks, I was kind of writing Brandon Belt off a little bit. Like, after he got put on the IL, just based on the timeline, based on the fact that this guy's like 35 years old, it was just seeming pretty unlikely that he was going to be able to return to the Toronto Blue Jays this season. But if he wants to start this progression, if he really wants to put the work in, if he can make a return for postseason potentially, that would just be phenomenal, right? Because the Toronto Blue Jays, they've been missing that cleanup hitter all season long, and even though Brandon Belt, he's not like the typical mold of a cleanup hitter, having him in the middle of the lineup just lengthens that thing out so much. So Brandon Belt, I wish you the best, dude. Please come back to the Toronto Blue Jays soon. Next, let's talk about Guerrero, because this one could be kind of scary. Vladdy has been turning it on recently for these Toronto Blue Jays, and in the last few weeks, he's just been on an absolute mission, which as Blue Jays fans, you love to see, right? Because a lot of the times when Guerrero goes, so does the team. So obviously losing him would just be extremely detrimental, especially at this point of the season when you are in a deep playoff race and you're gonna have postseason in 2 weeks time. Well, Keegan Matheson tweeted out that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a little banged up and feeling it, Schneider said. Nothing specific tonight, more tomorrow, but Vladdy clearly didn't look 100% running out his last play. Now, to be banged up at this point of the season, that's kind of natural, right? Like, you've played 150 games. That is just a massive toll on your body, so it's completely understandable that Guerrero is at a place right now where, yeah, his body isn't 100%, but at the same point, we still freaking need this guy, right? So I expect, like, for a lot of the games moving forward, that Guerrero, you're gonna see him in the DH spot. You might see him take a few days off, because if we walk into a wild card without Vladimir Guerrero Jr., yes, I know he hasn't been performing at his best all season long, but still, without Guerrero, that's the identity of the middle of your lineup, right? So that would just be like horrible for these Toronto Blue Jays. We need Guerrero to be 100% ready to go with the bat, locked in like he's been these last few weeks. So fingers crossed, folks, that we hear something about this soon and that it's not major. Speaking about something that is not major, it's looking like Yusei Kikuchi should be fine. Kikuchi left the Blue Jays' most recent game with a cramp, and Schneider came out afterwards and said that his level of concern about it was a 1 or a 0. So clearly nobody is really concerned about this, and when you hear what Yusei Kikuchi has to say about it, it's just kind of ridiculous.
Whoa, time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Kalen McGrath tweeted out that the Blue Jays starter Yusei Kikuchi thinks he'll be fine for his next start after he left the game with cramps. The biggest revelation was that he said it may have been caused by only getting 11 hours of sleep last night instead of his usual 13 or 14 hours. 13 or 14 hours? I might not get 13 or 14 hours in the next 2 days, let alone one freaking session. Yusei Kikuchi has definitely been better for the Toronto Blue Jays this season, so as much as I want to harp on the guy for literally going into a coma every 5 days before he starts, I can't say too much because he has been pretty good, and I guess if it works for you, Kikuchi, just keep doing it. Finally, folks, let's talk about a roster move right now that the Toronto Blue Jays made yesterday. Nothing crazy, but Shi Davidi came out and said that catcher Jamie Ritchie has joined the Blue Jays on the taxi squad. Schneider says the team wants to familiarize him with the pitching staff in case he's needed. He'll catch bullpens and sit in on pre-game meetings. And you know, when I first heard this, the cynic in me was like, oh God, like, is Kirk injured? Is something wrong? But if we just take John Schneider's words at face value, then this makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you want to have a backup catcher just ready to go, familiarizing himself with the pitching staff. You're hoping that you do not have to use him, but if you do, then at least the guy will be ready to go. But folks, let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, go Jays go.